Hello there. Are you ready for tonight's story? Well, a while back I read a book called Armadillo Chili, and I read it with kind of a Texas accent, and my son-in-law liked it so much that I looked around for another book that I could read like that, and I found this Veggietales book. It's called The Clumsiest Cowboy. Are you ready? Cowboy Larry slowly moved toward the snorting bull. "Easy, boy, easy," he said to the bull. "Take a deep breath." A group of cowboys sat on the fence watching the master at work. Larry was known far and wide as the compassionate cowboy. He drifted from town to town helping animals with their problems. Cowboy Larry had faced it all. He had helped pigs that didn't like being dirty, chickens that bickered, and prairie dogs with family problems. He had even written a book called Cows That Stampede and the People Who Love Them. Today he was helping a bull control his anger. "Get in touch with your feelings," said Cowboy Larry, taking a step closer to the dangerous bull. "Just say to yourself, 'Whoa!'" Larry tripped on a dodgeball. He tumbled into a water barrel, which toppled onto its side and rolled downhill. Wham! The barrel shattered against the fence, sending Larry soaring. "Yow!" He crash-landed on his wooden horse and got 2 nasty splinters. Leaping from his horse, Larry bounced off the top of a covered wagon as if he were on a trampoline. Then he crashed on the ground, smashing his cowboy hat over his eyes. Larry wasn't just a compassionate cowboy. He was the clumsiest cowpoke in the West. Larry tried to pull up his cowboy hat off his eyes, but it was no use. His hat was jammed onto his head tighter than a rattlesnake in a root beer bottle. Meanwhile, the cowboys couldn't stop laughing at Cowboy Larry's clumsiness. Even the bull rolled on the ground, snorting with laughter. "Hey, you done cured my bull," one cowboy said. "He's not angry anymore." "You're amazing, Larry," another cowboy said, still giggling. Cowboy Larry had helped the bull get over his anger, but Cowboy Larry still felt bad about his clumsiness. Whenever he tripped and fell, which he did a lot, no one seemed to care. Everyone just laughed. No one helped poor Larry yank his hat off his head, so he just bumbled around Dodgeball City, unable to see where he was going. Cowboy Larry was supposed to lead a support group for shy roosters later that afternoon, but because he couldn't see, Cowboy Larry spent his entire time talking to bales of hay. No one helped him. No one had compassion. They thought it was a hoot watching Cowboy Larry stumble around. Next, Cowboy Larry went to the "I'm okay, you're okay" corral. He was supposed to help a group of cows find their personal space in the pasture, but because Larry couldn't see, he spent the entire time talking to tumbleweeds. No one did a thing to help. Everyone laughed and laughed until tears came to their eyes. Finally, Larry decided to go to the Clip-Clop Horseshoe store. There he used a shoehorn to pry the hat off his eyes, but just as soon as he got his hat off, he stumbled backward into a shelf, knocking down several boxes of horseshoes. When the heavy horseshoes hit a loose floorboard, Larry flew straight up to the ceiling. His hat jammed down over his eyes again. This time the hat was stuck on his head snugger than a bull in tights, and still no one cared. "No one cares a stitch that I can't see where I'm going," Larry muttered to himself sadly. "So I'm going to mosey out of town to see if they even care if I'm gone." But no one cared. In fact, people didn't even notice that Larry had left. They were too excited about the Stuff Mart wagon, which had just rolled into town. The wagon had a load of brand new Cactus Patch dolls. So poor Cowboy Larry left town all alone, riding backwards on a very confused cow, which Cowboy Larry thought was his horse. "I'm glad that at least God cares about me," Larry muttered to the cow. "At least God knows that." Suddenly Cowboy Larry heard a strange sound coming from town. "Ow! Oh! Ow! Oh!" Someone was hurt. Larry wanted just to keep on riding, but he knew what it was like to be hurt. He cared. So Larry turned the cow around and galloped back into town. "What seems to be the problem?" asked Larry, who still couldn't see because of his hat. "It's the new dolls," shouted Junior Asparagus. "The Cactus Patch dolls are made with real cactus needles." "You mean?" "Yes," Junior exclaimed. "We all have cactus needles sticking us like we're pin cushions." "I feel your pain," said Larry. "Say, if you help me get this hat off my head so that I can see, I'll be happy to help the whole town remove those cactus needles." So Junior Asparagus helped pull the hat off Larry's head. Then Larry, the compassionate cowboy, spent the rest of the day helping all the townsfolk remove their cactus needles. The townsfolk suddenly realized that Cowboy Larry saw things more clearly than they did. All day long, Cowboy Larry had seen their troubles, but they hadn't seen that Cowboy Larry also needed help. He needed comfort whenever he tripped and fell. Finally, their eyes were open. It was like someone had taken hats off their eyes, too. "We're sorry we never helped you before," said an old cowpoke. "From now on, we'll care," said another. "We'll be compassionate cowboys, too." "That's great news," said Cowboy Larry as he moseyed toward his wooden horse. "Say, what's this?" The people of the town had put a brand new saddle on Cowboy Larry's horse. That way, maybe he wouldn't get so many splinters. They truly cared. Everyone gathered on the edge of town to say farewell to the compassionate cowboy as he rode off in the sunset. "Adios, amigos," Cowboy Larry shouted. "Happy trails to—" Cowboy Larry's horse hit a pothole, and the compassionate cowboy tumbled headfirst onto the ground. He landed on his 10-gallon hat, but this time, everybody helped him get back up. So the cowboy was clumsy, and people laughed at him because he kept falling down and doing what they considered goofy things. But then they realized that he was very compassionate too. He might have been clumsy, but he had a huge heart, and he wanted to take care of other people. And the more he did that, the more they were able to look past the clumsiness and see what a valuable person he is. Jesus always wants us to serve each other, because serving each other is how we show love. And when we love each other, eventually people realize how valuable they are to each other, that each person is special because God made us special. And the more compassion, the more kindness, the more generosity, the more care we show for one another, the better the person it makes us. And Jesus wants us to be better people because Jesus loves us this much. So God bless you. God bless you that you remember always that you are the beloved child He created you to be. Good night.